Ms. Esther Saoub is a journalist reporting for German Public TV and Arte TV. She's focused on foreign and European affairs and the Middle East, and has formerly worked as foreign correspondent for ARD, German Public Radio in Cairo. Before her training as a TV and radio journalist, she studied comparative literature, Islamic and Jewish thought at the Free University of Berlin. And she also studied Arabic in Damascus with a scholarship from DAAD. I'll leave the platform to Esther from here. Please join me in welcoming the panel.
Good morning. As Rania mentioned, I've been a scholar of the German Academic Exchange Service in former times. In 1991, I arrived in Damascus for the first time in my life, carrying a suitcase that was far too heavy for the narrow alleys of the old town of Damascus, where I had rented a room. So what I remember is a labyrinth of gray walls, and I thought I would never make it out there again. But then I realized that the doors of the houses were open, and people were sitting in courtyards, telling me, "Tfaddali, fuji, welcome in." And this is what we're going to discuss now. How can German universities or European universities say "Tfaddalu" to all these people who are coming to our continent right now? And how can we avoid the loss of a whole Syrian generation? Who is it who comes, and what do they bring with them? Because, as you probably know, Syrians would never enter another one's house with empty hands. On our panel, we have 2 German experts and 2 Syrian experts who are going to discuss with us these issues. I'll present the youngest first, who is Edgar Kaade. He graduated with a bachelor degree as biotechnical engineer from Aleppo University in 2014. And currently he's enrolled in a master degree program in biomedical science at the Bonn-Rhein-Sieg University in Applied Sciences here in Germany. He holds a scholarship from the German Academic Exchange Service called Leadership for Syria. We heard about this earlier, and we will discuss it later as well. And before, he had an Erasmus Mundus scholarship, which is a European scholarship for 1 semester. On my left-hand side is Dr. Bashar Diar Bakari. He's currently working as a senior specialist in the field of flame retardant additives and specialty materials in Bergheim, Germany. We won't discuss this later because I don't have any professional questions on this. Bashar also is originally from Aleppo, and he studied chemistry at the Aleppo University and at the University of Bayreuth in Germany from 2002 to 2013. And he holds a PhD in the field of inorganic chemistry, also was a scholar of the German Academic Exchange Service, as well as of the member of the elite network of Bavaria, and he now holds a German citizenship beside his Syrian citizenship. On the far left, we have Dr. Florian Kohstall. He's the head of Freie Universität Berlin Cairo office. And since October 2015, he's the coordinator of Welcome at FU Berlin, the program Dr. Müller mentioned before, for migrants coming to the Freie Universität. Mr. Kohstall holds a PhD from
and is now based between the 2 countries. He's also a member of the Arab-German Young Academy. And you have been listening to Christian Müller, who is the director of the Department of Strategy at the German Academic Exchange Service, DAAD, in Bonn. He works for the DAAD since 2002, and he served in Brazil, heading the DAAD branch office in Rio de Janeiro. He was president of the board of the German Center for Science and Innovation in Sao Paulo, and had different appointments. I won't mention all of them. I will just address the first question to you. I'll be passing on the microphone. We have only one. As we heard, DAAD has a long history of sponsorship programs for German students as well as foreign students. And now you mentioned the program called Leadership for Syria. So we are curious, what is it about and why did, thank you, DAAD start this program?
Yeah, thank you so much for introducing me and for giving DAAD, German Academic Exchange Service, the opportunity to say some words about what we are doing in the region, what we are doing for Syrian students in higher education. I should say that our work really is only on higher education, so it is not on scholarly education. We started this program with the name Leadership for Syria in 2014. I mean, you all know in which situation the country was in that year already, and we felt that there must be a specific program addressing the needs of young Syrians trying to pursue their higher education outside the country. So we opened a specific program which opens the possibility to study in Germany with scholarships on bachelor's and master's level and PhD as well. And we did have 200 places for scholarships. I should say that 2 specific states in Germany, we call them Länder, stepped into it. And one is North Rhine-Westphalia, places like Cologne, Düsseldorf, Dortmund, Bonn, being a part of it, and Baden-Württemberg, which is southwest in Germany. So one state gave another 21 scholarships, and Baden-Württemberg another 50. So at the total, it's 271 scholarship places to study in Germany. To be frankly, this for us is a big number. We obviously know that for a case like Syria, it is not a big number. It's a very, very small piece of help trying to give opportunities to young Syrians to study here. What we intended from the very beginning, I should say, we received 5,000 applications, which gives us a clue on the magnitude of demand for scholarships of this kind. Obviously, in terms of administrative process, this gives us a lot of work, and some of my colleagues could tell more about this. We even did interviews in the region, obviously not in Syria, but in Beirut, in Ankara, in Istanbul, Cairo, and so on, Amman. At the end, we selected somebody like Edgar Kaade. We'll hear more of him, and maybe there are even more people in the room who are scholarship holders of this program. What, for me personally, is important to say, that we are not only giving scholarships for doing bachelor, master's courses here, or even PhD, but we are introducing an accompanying program, which we called a program on civil society, good governance, and related topics and skills. So, beginning with October this year, all scholarships holders will have the opportunity, for not to say the obligation, to follow an accompanying course of some disciplines which will be run, I can say this today, by the University of Constance. So we try to build skills and capacities together with these young people to be one of the leading group of persons to rebuild and to reconstruct Syria after, as we all hope, the civil war is over. Thank you.
Rebuilding will be a topic towards the end of our discussion, But since we have one of these scholars sitting here, as I learned, your first language, your first foreign language is French, the second is English. We all know how difficult German is. So, why Germany?
Exactly. Thank you for the introduction. Exactly as you said, since the beginning when I was going to graduate from my bachelor in Syria, I was looking forward to continue my education in Europe. Then simply I was choosing France as the first choice for me, as she said, for the language. But when I was applying for universities, I saw some difficulties from the French universities to accept my application, since I was going to graduate in July 2014. Then I will start my program in September 2014 directly. So comparing to the German universities, it was more flexible, and they accepted me conditionally, let's say, and they gave me the opportunity to start my first semester in the master program conditionally, and then I can bring my papers slowly one by one until the end of the semester. Then I would have the opportunity, if I completed all the needed papers, I would be able to continue my full program of the master. So that's what I saw here, in comparing to France, where they directly rejected, let's say, and said, no, we can't accept you, we need the full documents complete. So that was a big advantage I saw here in the German university.
Thank you. On my left hand, there's another person who chose Germany for a place to study before Syria was being as uncomfortable as it is now. Why did you choose Germany as a place?
First, thanks for inviting me. Second, I think if you study chemistry or engineering, Germany was the first choice for most of the students because of the reputation, the universities, the work market also there. And I had a good connection to German professor, and who helped me a lot at the University of Freie, and therefore I chose Germany. Short.
We heard the terms flexibility, and we heard that Mr. Kaade was able to deliver his paperwork bit by bit. Would this be one of the important points looking at welcome at FU Berlin, at making life easier for refugees coming here?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Professor Alti presented already the main points of welcome at FU Berlin. That's why I don't want to talk long about the different details. But I think the main idea of this program is easy access into the university life. That's the main idea. What we want to do actually through this program is to prepare people who newly arrived in Germany for their application for a regular study program. And what we ask for is just the first registration in Berlin or in Brandenburg, and that they show us some proof that they did a high school exam in their home country, so that we don't do the examination of the Hochschulzugangsberechtigung, this very complicated procedure which you have to do afterwards if you apply for a regular study program. And we identified, of course, two main gaps. Why preparing people for the university? First of all, we are dealing with a very heterogeneous group. This program has been built up at the height of the refugee crisis, or when Germany really witnessed last summer a major influx of people. And what we saw is the group is very heterogeneous. And I think until now, we still do not very well know this group. So we have to get in contact with them. We have to see, did they already do a bachelor? Did they already study for 1-2 semesters in Damascus or in another city? Did they have to interrupt, or do they want to start their studies? And so there's one major gap. I think that's, of course, the language gap. So the major part of our programs are language courses. But then we also offer preparatory courses, because we think that the study programs in Syria and in other countries and in Germany are very different, and we have to get the people used to our study programs before they decide. So of course counseling is the third very important point, but the fourth also is that you mentioned this easy access. During this time of easy access, during this time when you are getting your papers ready, we also wanted to give already the people the opportunity to earn credits, and that's why we opened also courses and seminars from our regular study programs for people who would like to attend them and who want to let's say, familiarized with the university.
Thank you. We'll come back to the point what people bring with them and how we can recognize or compare the certificates. But before that, let's come back to a point Mr. Sheikh mentioned in his keynote speech, which is the neighboring countries and all the people living there. As we all know, the European Union tries to keep people there, not to have them all come here. And there are programs trying to encourage people or to help educate people in the neighboring countries in order to not have them, because as we know, many people leave the neighboring countries because there's no education for their children. So let's hear from Mr. Müller what the programs are that try to help education in the neighboring countries.
Yes, very right. So what we try to do is to give financial opportunities for Syrian refugees in countries like Jordan, like Lebanon, like Turkey, simply by offering scholarships to study in the same country, in Jordan, in Lebanon, in Egypt, in Turkey. And there are several programs we have designed up to now. One is financed by the Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, which shows you that from different perspectives, politically, we are looking on this question as a question of development and cooperation as well, not only of international politics. And this program is running in Jordan. What is interesting enough, and this shows you how complicated all these things are, is that the Jordan government, once we were talking about this opportunity for Syrian students, they told us, well, we cannot open a scholarship program like this if we do not offer for Jordanian students the same opportunity. So, what do? We give for each Syrian student a scholarship for your Jordanian student as well. So it is literally split by half. Half of it goes to Jordanian nationals and half of it goes to Syria. Another scheme in which we try to help Syrian refugees is to integrate them into German foreign universities. There are some projects in the region, like the German-Jordanian University in Amman, the German-Turkish University in Istanbul, the German University of Cairo in Egypt, and they are all backed or funded or helped by the German federal government. So we try to put some scholarships in these projects for Syrian refugees. This is another scheme. A third one should be mentioned, which is the European Commission. So Europe and the European Union is considering helping people in the region in a similar way. So we joined a project with British Council, Campus France, and the Netherlands, the Dutch agency, which is called EP-NAFIC, in a joint program which will deliver some 600 scholarships in the region for Syrian refugees in all those 4 countries. So there are different and I should say differentiated approaches to help Syrians in the region to pursue their education, also in the country itself where they first arrived.
You already mentioned how you deal with the question what people bring with them. Now we have 2 persons who came from Syria and who had started their studies in Syria. You came in 2002. There were no special programs for refugees, Syrians.
2002. I started in Aleppo in 2002.
I see.
2009.
So you had part of your studies done in Aleppo?
My bachelor fall in Aleppo, then part of my master, it was cooperation. I did the practical part in Germany, and the master at the end I finished in 2009 Syria, and then I came with the DAAD scholarship to do my PhD here.
And was it easy to transfer the certificates you were already having from Aleppo to Germany, or did you have to repeat any of your subjects?
I think we cannot generalize my situation. I had an exception, so it's not the general situation. I had the highest score at the University of Aleppo, and my professor did a lot of pressure on a lot of people here, and he just told me.
So do you have colleagues who have a less exceptional case,
yes,
whom you could talk about?
Yeah, but maybe he has more experience about it, but I have to say that what makes me more sad because my country, where you grow up there, and you got your education, your family, and you want to stay there, and there's a professor from Germany, he said, I want this guy. So that's really sad at the end.
So let's ask Mr. Kaade, how was it when you came? You already had a bachelor's degree from Aleppo. Was it easy to have it recognized in the German university you applied for?
Yeah, at the beginning when I showed the papers to the international office here in the Compliant University, they directly delivered to the professor who was in charge of comparing my subjects from Aleppo University to the German system, and then they accepted the main subjects, and they said, yeah, this bachelor accepted here in Germany, so you can directly go to the master program. And of course, it was really helpful for me to start directly. The program was that this discipline I'm studying is teaching English, so this was a really good point that covered the gap. So some students could have a gap, like maybe 6 months to study German language, then to start their program. So if there are many, when the German university give opportunities for more programs in English, it's could really helpful for the student to start directly their course study.
So you think this would be a helpful thing, that you could
definitely.
offer studies in English language?
Yeah.
As far as I know, there are between 30 and 50,000 of the refugees who came to Germany are able to study at a university. Do you think there's space for all these, or should things change to have all of them go quickly into university studies, Mr. Müller?
Well, this is a tricky question, and actually we have seen a study which came out some 2 weeks ago by our federal authority, which looks for refugees, which is called BAMF, and which looks on the qualification of refugees in Germany, and surprisingly enough, the numbers of young Syrians who have completed the high school is very high, and even people who already had entered higher education, had entered the university, again, is very high. Those two groups together make up some 48%, so it's a very high percentage out of these 500,000, which already has been mentioned. So probably there's a group between, as you said, 20 or 30,000 up to 50,000 people willing to go to higher education. So it's a very large community. If you look on a university like Freie Universität Berlin, how many students do you have? 30,000? 32. So you could make an entire Syrian university in Berlin, just out of those young people, mainly male, over 70% male, which wish to study. So it is true, it's a large community. What happens, and we need to say this, the process you need to go through from the very first moment you enter the country as a refugee until the moment you are registered, accepted, and ready to go into an educational institution. This process takes too long. Now, everybody knows that it is taking long. So until now, the numbers, the real numbers of Syrian students enrolled regularly in our university still is very low, probably below 500. So between this number and the expected number, as you said, and as I would like to confirm, there's a big gap, which is mainly a time gap. And so we expect numbers to rise very rapidly at the end of this year and maybe even still in next year, 2017. Is there enough place? No, I should say no, there's not enough place, and universities will go and complain about it. They will say, wait, we need more money for more places to study. What is true to say is that, and now we maybe come on the question of disciplines and areas of study, we must say that in terms of engineering courses, which is an area in which many Syrian students would like to go, we do not have that many places, but during the first 2, 3, 4 semesters of the bachelor's course, many people drop out, or actually they fail the exams. So universities, they do have places up, well, starting from the 3rd, 4th semester of an engineering bachelor's course, places open. So there's some space. Where we have a major problem, and we have to say this, is all courses related to medicine. So medical doctor, this is a big problem. I know many Syrians would like to go into medical studies, dentistry, veterinary medicine. This is all extremely narrow, extremely limited and restricted. So it's very difficult to get into it. We have to admit this. And again, it's necessary to say that our universitarian system is a public one. So it is publicly funded, which means that the access to our universities, as already has been said, is regulated by laws and rules. And if we would say, well, we accept 500 Syrians into medical doctor school, 5,000 Germans would complain and would go to justice and say, well, this is not fair. I don't get a place and they are getting a place. So this is complicated. A question of medicine, dentistry, even pharmacy, veterinary medicine, this is complicated, and maybe we should talk about this. Thank you.
Bashar came and you knew how to study because this German professor told you so. But if you think about the people you met in Bayreuth University, would you think this could be a way that now you got known to the German educational system, that maybe some Syrians should come here more openly and not have the subject in mind they necessarily want to study?
Exactly. I can give an example in my family. Almost everyone is an engineer, my father and mother also. So, and they were not happy that I studied chemistry. And if they look now, at my age, I have my PhD, I have a very good job, and they cannot imagine that you can be really successful. And the point I agree, in Syria it's exactly the same, medicine, engineering, but here it's totally different. And it might be here that if you have chemistry, if you work at the industry, even you get more money. So it's not always about engineering and medicine. And the problem you have always this social pressure. I would like to advise everyone just to break this restriction, just be free and choose what you like to do, because you have to like it at the end. You're going every day, 8-10 hours per day, sometimes at the weekend. So just do whatever you like to do and you can be successful, and even if you clean the street, you can be also successful. So it doesn't matter what do you study or what do you do.
This brings me to another point, which is the vocational sector. It's not part of the higher education, but people who know Germany know that vocational professions have a much higher image in the society than in other countries. And here you can study for 6 years to be a hairdresser. And then you will have a master's, a Meister. It's not a master's degree, it's called Meister in Germany, but it teaches you so many skills beyond your profession, which is teaching people in your shop all the bureaucracy, anything you need for opening a business. When you look around you, Edgar, people, Syrians you got known here, who don't necessarily need to study a higher education subject, would you think this could be a way to make this more known within the Syrian society in Germany, that vocational professions could be an alternative?
Yeah, exactly, because many Syrians who are here, like as you said, like maybe they are coiffeur, they work in this profession as a hairdresser, but and they are like maybe the best in their cities, and they have experience for like 20 years in this domain, and then they came here to Germany, and I heard from some, they told me now I should go to school and study again how to do these haircuts, and I already have this experience for a long time, so I think this program could be a really good alternative to give them this experience and start directly in this work, directly in their domain.
Do you think, Mr. Müller, that the universities giving advices to students should also include this part of the process, even though they would lose the students to a vocational school?
Yeah, this is a tricky point because it is hard to ask universities to give advice on educational programs which are not universitarian. This is a bit tricky, but anyway, I think many people do this. In the reality, many people do it. It is necessary to say that there are some study programs you know from other countries, even from France or from US, which you probably would find in a university, like nursing or like physiotherapy, isn't it? Yeah. Those professions in Germany are not part of higher education at universities. It is part of vocational training. This is important to know. So there are several careers and several professions for which you would not go to university. You would go to specialized schools and to VET, to vocational education and training. So this distinction is important to know. Who should give this advice really is a complicated point. We are still talking to the ministry to see whether we could give universities more funds to widen the counseling and advising schemes, and even including questions like this. But probably we need a general educational advice in another place, way before somebody reaches a university, so in other spaces.
Since we don't want to spoil the coffee break, I will shorten our discussion a bit to give space for questions and discussion in the audience. But there's the final point I would like to make is the point concerning the future, this longer perspective plan we are all hoping to see someday. One of the programs of German Academic Exchange Service is called Leadership for Syria. It's not called Leadership for Germany. So it plans to have some of the people return to their country. I know it's a very theoretical question right now. You probably wouldn't go to Aleppo to open a laboratory for biochemistry. But someday, I don't know. You're going to be the first one I ask, because you hold 2 passports. You can choose freely where to go, where to live. Do you think higher education in Germany can be part of the reconstruction of Syria someday?
It's a very tough question, but sure, it could be. But this depends, as we talked, it depends on the career situation here, the family situation, and the political atmosphere situation in Syria. But the question is, I attended the welcome meeting for the leadership program for Syria, and I believe this is investment in Syria and for Syria, this is the intention, but mostly it will be investment in Syria and for Germany. So to be honest, I believe most of the people will stay here. There are a lot who wants to go back, but at the end, after 10 years, you will change also. You're not the same person as you were before. And I think if you have built your life here, you have your children going to school, you have your house, to be realistic, it will be difficult to think of returning back, maybe having vacation. But more in my case, but this is only my personal opinion, I think it will be really difficult to integrate again in Syria.
Integrate again in Syria. Don't be the same person as you were. Do you think, Edgar, that you could take this with you? Change Syria by taking the changement of yourself back to your country?
Yeah, before I was planning, before the crisis in Syria, I was planning to go abroad to get my knowledge and learn from the European society or wherever I will get my master's degree or PhD, and then to return back, bring my knowledge with me to help my colleagues there and give them some new ideas how it works there. Maybe you can have these ideas in Syria, apply it and invest in Syria. So for me as a Syrian, it was always a plan to get knowledge outside and go back to the country. But since the crisis started and the war is there in Syria, this question is getting harder, and you don't know when is the right time to go back. But of course, it's always an idea. It's always here in my heart to go back and help my country to rebuild again.
I would like to comment very shortly.
Of course.
That's exactly what I said when I came here at the first and second year. But I'm truly, because we had the question to compare between the political educational system in Syria and here, and the job and the work market. I had the first 2 years, and after 8 years in Germany, you change, and after 8 years, when you think about it, you will have different answer.
Nevertheless, LfS, you're going to be part of the Leadership for Syria program in Constance University. So how are you encouraging people by this program to think about the future in their own country and to even lead part of the society?
Well, to be honest, I should say that in all our scholarship programs, which are directed to foreign students and scholars, we do not force them to say, well, you must go back. We did this some years ago. Actually, it was a policy, and it was part of our contract with the scholarship holders. This is not the case anymore. And this relates to several political discussions we do have. And me personally, I've been living abroad for 12, 16, for 20 years. And I would understand that if you educate people in higher education, it is kind of a patriarchal approach. If you say, well, I know where your place is, you have to go back to Lebanon, to Angola, and to Canada. It is your choice. I mean, it's your personal choice. And Germany is open to highly qualified people to look for work. We changed our legislation on this. You may know this. So we changed it in the sense that somebody who finishes his or her course has at least 1 year more to stay in Germany to look for a job which is related to the education you have had. So yes, we are open for highly qualified people to stay here, to look for a job, and to start a career. Obviously, this is a political question. There are many forces in Germany saying, well, we have too many immigrants and we have too many refugees, and we do not have places for all of them. I do not agree with this opinion.
Last question to Mr. Kohstall. Could you dream about a German-Syrian academic relationship someday later? Is the Freie Universität Berlin thinking about something like this?
Yeah, I wanted to say that the main focus of our program, of course, is prepare people to arrive or to let them arrive here. So we don't have this idea of what's happening in 5 years. But of course, we are also very active in strengthening institutionally our cooperation with partners in the Middle East. And if I could imagine a career of one of the participants of our welcome program is, for example, he gets accepted here at the university, and in 2 years of time, he applies, for example, with our direct exchange with the American University in Beirut, he goes to Lebanon, and maybe he works there with Jusoor. I think AUB is also working with your organization, and working at one of the refugee camps. These are the kind of mobilities I could imagine. We had a conference with the Arab German Young Academy on higher education and migration, where we invited a lot of university leaders from North Africa and the Middle East, actually with the goal of strengthening paths of mobility, because I think this is the future. If we think about our education, and if we think about how can we strengthen academic cooperation also with the region, we are working for our students, and we are working for students who are still there, and we should. My dream was always having a real Erasmus program like we have it in Europe with North Africa and the Middle East. That would be my dream.
Yes?
I will come back to that point. I have only one advice, because I see a lot of younger people. I'm young too, but I have a little bit experience. I'll tell you, focus your energy in establishing a good position. It could be at the university or later at the job, and then start of making dreams or plans what will happen when I'll come back to Syria. Because don't start from now, after 6 years, I'll do this plan, I'll do this, because you don't know what will happen. So just focus on the reality now, on integration. You have a lot of problems, you have integration, German course, you have educational, to get to know the educational system, and establish good position at the industry. And after 10 years, you can think about it, but don't spend a lot of times in daydreaming. I will go back, I'll do, thanks.
We do the dreaming for you. So we have 20 minutes left for a discussion. I think there are microphones in the room, because I see 1, 2, 3, 4, enough questions. So Please be so kind, keep your questions short. You all want to drink a cup of coffee. And if you want to address your question to a certain person, just mention the name so we know who is supposed to answer. Thank you. So we go one left, one right. And who arrives first? Let's see. With the microphone. So I think there's a lady right beside you who wants to ask a question, please.
Thank you, good morning. Actually, I don't have a question, but 3 short comments as food for thought. The first thing is that thank you to the panel for sharing with us thoughts and experiences. I'm coming from Portugal and I run a program for Syrian students. And I think it's important to underline the need for more cooperation to share best practices and solutions for common problems.
Within Europe, you mean?
Within Europe and even at a wider scale. So first point. Secondly, I do believe that we need to, and here it's really European framework, to think more strategically about the way we are supporting higher education. Because to take the example of medicine, for sure for a country and for the universities of one single country, we all know that it's very demanding to offer higher education opportunities for Syrian medical students. However, if you think about the needs of the Syrians now, issues. So more cooperation, more focused approach to higher education is necessary in order to allow missing year after year the academic years and making students wait. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, at the left-hand side, please.
I have a question to Dr. Bashar and to Dr. Florian. Just let me tell you something I've heard once about the ex-Yugoslavia. 90% of the people who fled from Yugoslavia, they came back to Yugoslavia. So I would like to have just your thought about this kind of thing. Can you tell me, why do you think really everyone will stay in Germany? Is that because, is it based on your personal experience, or it's more based on what you've heard from people? This is the first question. The second question is for Dr. Kohstall. Don't you think it was regarding how people are going to medicine and they don't know how to choose, how to choose their study, etc. Don't you think that there is a lack of visibility here? What the German universities are doing exactly show people what do we have as programs. When I went to France in 2001, I thought that I was going to study medicine, but actually after 6 months I realized that actually I have a lot of choice. So what's the German universities are doing? Thank you.
Okay, Bashar, yeah?
Okay, so anything I say to present myself only, because I'm talking about my personal experience and my opinion, and the message. I attended the welcome meeting for the program Leadership for Syria in Berlin last year, and I talked to a lot of students, and my message is, it doesn't matter, you can never decide whatever you want to do, and the message is, do not lose time now in thinking of this, because this decision you can make in the last year when you see the situation is okay. And my message now, you have a lot of bigger problem, integration, language, so start to work really hard on your problems and leave these thoughts and dreams. I'll go back, I'll do it. And second part, I left Syria because I wanted to, I was not forced to, so I cannot generalize my feeling in my questions. I hope that this answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, what we do, I totally agree with you concerning the visibility. I think that especially I think it's a little bit the same for German students as well when they decide after high school to study. They have some images, and medicine is of course very popular, and then there are some other subjects, but like I would say 70% of the subjects which, for example, we teach here at Freie Universität Berlin are unknown. What we have, of course, we have a huge website, and you will find for most of the study programs a comprehensive video which explains you the content, because I think also there's a huge misperception of what is really in the study programs. For example, if I study political science, I do not study diplomacy, I study political theory, etc. So I think it's very important, and of course this is a little bit time consuming to have a look into the study programs. We try to explain this as much as we can on our website, at our information service. What we also have now for the participants of the program is a student buddy. That means that we match them with a student from Freie Universität Berlin, and we hope that this student who is already at the university does not only familiarize him with the campus life, but also with the different study programs which we have.
Student union or something totally different?
No, it's volunteer students who are here at the university, and they can also send us a mail and tell that we would like to volunteer in this program, and we matched 50 people together, and we hope that they are going to orient them as well.